at Nana's Place on Twitch TV. I also do Tea and Talk Time, but I'm starting a new series, we'll call it, a spiritual slant, or ASS for short. I've been contemplating doing this for a while now, and I've really got to get back into the spiritual side of things. So the purpose of this is to share spiritual insight, to encourage people to develop their spiritual side, their intuitive side, their inner higher self side, whatever your metaphysical terminology is. That's what, what you need to be meditating on. I'm going to do, at some point, I'm going to do some animal guide things. Jamie Sams, I think, is her name, and she does, you can figure out who your animal totems are. Native Americans strongly believe in animal totems, and we just had, I guess it's truth, because the truth card just jumped out. I'm shuffling my Wolf Spirits deck. Things were really shaky yesterday for me, and it's like, okay, what's going on? What do I need to know? So the first thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to do what I call a cycle reading, a Wolf Spirit cycle reading. I'm still developing the latest version of the deck, and eventually I hope to have it available on GameCrafter. But it's learning new programs and getting it to look the way I want it to look, and blah 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 blah. So again, it's taken me a while to get to that point. But this deck that I'm using right now, I developed after probably 2.5 years of intense concentration on wolf and going to the Northern Trek wolf cabin at Cleveland Metro Park Zoo and taking a gazillion pictures. And this is back when it wasn't digital and you can just, delete it and take more. You had to get it developed. Well, that didn't turn out right. Well, he's blurred, and things like that. So, that was back when. That was back 97, 98, 99. Probably the final version I did right around 2000, 2001. Final meaning what this one looks like, but this is going to change. It's going to look a little bit different. Right now the back of it looks like this. Eventually the back is going to look similar to this. Maybe not exactly, but that's where it's at right now. So it's an ongoing process. So I feel yesterday it really felt like I needed to get back to basics. I needed to get back to the foundation. And in order to hear from Spirit, because I haven't been good about meditating, I haven't been good about, things like that, where it's the one-on-one. Don't have the money to go see somebody. And really need to focus on the wolf deck and what wolf is teaching me. I know, I say it like it's W-U-F-F. W-U-F-F, wolf. I think that goes back to being raised in Philadelphia. My early years, not Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was actually Franklin, Pennsylvania. I was there when I was, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because I think we moved when I was in the first grade. So those early years, I tend to have a Pennsylvania, get me a soda, get me a pop, and that's Pennsylvania. People would look at me like, what? Yeah, get me a soda pop. So what I want to do here is I'm going to do a basic reading for myself with the intent that if whoever watches this, if if they feel a connection to something, then spirit is talking to them as well. So, and then afterwards, if anybody has a question or, wants me to pull a card for them or whatever, then I can do that. But initially, it's a general reading for me and can refer to anyone else who cares. God speaks to us in so many ways, and we just ignore it. We don't validate it. We don't recognize it. We don't acknowledge it. When my dog Tramp passed, I came home from the vet, and the family came over. My oldest son, who was with me when we went to pick him up from the pound, because he was a rescue doggy. He came over and he was sitting on the swing, and this butterfly came out of nowhere and came in and just circled right in front of him and then left again. And I said, that's Tramp saying goodbye. I believe that stuff. I believe God talks to us, however he needs to catch our attention. Throwing cards around again. Okay, where are you? Let's see what. Oh, I knew there was more. Okay. That was 2 cards. When you do a reading and cards jump out, it's usually a message. Sometimes they don't want to wait until you actually do the full reading. So what came out was little Motsy, one of the Sawtooth pack. He jumped out. I always thought it was a she, but it's a he, Motsy. He represents new birth. This is when he was a puppy, and he's howling. He's sitting there howling. He had just discovered how to howl. So the new birth card just jumped out. Well, that's appropriate. I was talking about Tramp crossing over. Now he's doing new things for him. So it's new birth. And the Heights card, this was one of the wolves at Columbus Zoo. After Tundra and Molia passed, they got some new ones in. And this wolf is on top of this tall rock. And so he represents heights, he or she. I never did know the names of the new ones. He represents heights. Now, with the Heights card, it can mean reaching new heights, acquiring new heights. It can also be are you afraid of reaching? Are you afraid of going for it? This one, I think, is the more positive aspect of it, attaining new heights. So, new birth and new heights. Okay. I take that as a positive thing for me and for whoever is watching. New birth is coming and reaching new heights. Sounds good to me. So now I'm going to do a cycle spread, and that will tell me what cycles I will be processing through. Since wolf is very much connected to nature, they live with natural cycles. I mean, that's how they exist. Native Americans are, and others too, I just can't think of who else offhand. They're very much attuned, farmers are to a degree, very much attuned to nature. And very aware of the cycles that we all go through. So I'm going to, if I had another camera, I would shine it down. Someday I'll get sophisticated and be able to do this a little bit better. But I got to use what I got right now. So the first card, there's 5 cards that are laid down in the spread. Like a clock. And at 12 o'clock, 2, 4, 8, and 10 is the basic positions. The first one is what you're dealing with right now, what cycle you're going through right now. And then the first card at the 2 o'clock position, that's basically, you know, what's coming up in a 3-month period. And then it's 6 month, 9 month, and 3, 6, 9, 12. 12 would be, yeah, a year from now. So what I'm dealing with right now, observation. Okay. That's a cycle I'm in now. Learning to be more observant. There's a wolf on top of the wolf den. And there's a wolf coming out. Now does he, and there's actually another one behind him. I think that's Wyatt that's coming out. Yeah. Now does he notice that there's a wolf above him? Is that wolf going to pounce? Is that an opportunity coming up? New heights. Maybe. For me, what it's telling me is that, yes, I need to be paying attention. Just like yesterday, you know, what prompted this was things felt off. Things felt a little chaotic, felt jumbled. It didn't feel clear. Something was vibrating. Something was going on. So that's the cycle I'm in now, is being more observant, is learning to be aware. Speaking of being aware, one of the messages of Hawk is to beware, like danger, 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 or be aware. I had 2 hawks. I was out the other day, and they were very close to me, and it was very in your face type. It wasn't just them in a tree. I love seeing them up in trees. They were flying and they were close, and I don't remember the specifics of it. But I went, okay, be aware. I almost got broadsided. But because I had already seen the message and received it, I was a little more cautious and was able to recognize the danger before I pulled out in front of somebody. So that's one of the benefits of paying attention, of being aware, of knowing your circumstances. I had a real good experience with my counselor last month, and you have to be careful when you're doing spiritual stuff. We were talking a lot about some of the stuff that I've been talking about here. So I was kind of elevated. I wasn't grounded, and I almost rear-ended somebody. So it was like, okay, take a deep breath. You got to focus. Got to pay attention. A lot of times after you do something spiritual, you should eat something. That helps ground you. That helps pull you back, so that you're not floating out here and not paying attention to what you need to pay attention to. So the cycle I'm working on now is being more observant. To me, it's spiritually. Let's turn a card over and see what they say. They say opportunity. At the wolf cabin, again, most of these pictures are taken there. That is a wolf looking, and there's a beaver swimming by in the pond. That means there's an opportunity, either coming or here, or it's swimming by. What are you going to do? You're going to let it just go by, or are you going to grab it? So something's going on, and I need to take advantage of the opportunity. More or less, I'm making myself today. I'm really not up for a lot today. My energy level is extremely low. But I'm taking advantage of the opportunity of using the tools that I do have and making a beginning. So that's telling me what's going on now, what cycles I'm in now. Now, coming up within the next 3 months, the next card, oh dear, is a sorrow card. This is Tundra. She was at the Columbus Zoo, her and Walia, but they both passed. And to me, I was looking in her eyes, and I couldn't figure out why she was so sad. And it occurred to me later that that was a feeling I was getting from her, that she wouldn't see me again because within a year they were both gone. And she knew it. On some level, she knew it. So the sorrow card can mean sadness. For whatever reason, it can mean somebody's crossing in the next 3 months. I'm hoping it's not that one. I have a hard time with this one because I have predicted the possibility of someone crossing once, and it did happen, but I'm not solid on this card as to how to read it. I do know there's a sadness in the next 3 months, whether it's me still getting over tramps passing, which still, like, right here, even though I have Sahara now, whether that's what it means. Also connected with this card is when Princess Diana, her funeral, 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I was either watching it or I wanted to be watching it, so I wasn't really sleeping soundly. I had the vision of 2 wolves crossing the sky, and I didn't know it at the time, but they had passed. And when I found that out, I went, oh, I knew it was 2 wolves. And it was them, basically saying goodbye. And so the other meaning of the sorrow card can also be something along those lines. So maybe, tramps off to new adventures, or am I confusing you with something else? I'll have to see. It's been a while since I've used my own deck, and I've got to get back to it, so it's back to basics. So it could be the sadness that I'm still adjusting with that. Let's get a clarification card and see what... Release. Okay. This is Wyatt after he took a swim in the beaver pond, and he's shaking all the water off. So, it's release. So it's me releasing the feelings and emotions and everything that's associated with the horrific passing of Tramp. It was very traumatic for me, because it was just all of a sudden everything bloomed on him. He was just full of infection. He was just full of this, that, and the other, and he was losing his hair, and he was collapsing, and I took him to the vet, and they did x-rays, and he had a mass in his stomach, and he had like more than one type of infection, and it was like very overwhelming. So I'm still working on releasing that. I'm going to turn over one more clarification card, and this is Buffalo. I got to go to Yellowstone National Park, and these buffalo were walking in a whole line right next to the car. We were all waiting for this long line of buffalo to walk past. And to me, buffalo is ancient wisdom. I think I'm clearly perceiving the cycle that I'm going to be working through and am working through. These all kind of blur together. It's all about, getting past the trauma of losing Tramp, and ancient wisdom is, these are life cycles. This is what we go through. Our own life. This is what we go through. So that's what the next 3 months are going to entail with me. So we've got within the next 6 months is the next card. Undercurrents. Those wolves had so much fun trying to figure out what those beavers were doing. You can't see the beaver in the pond, but they know something's there. And so that's why it's undercurrents. I stood there and watched. This wasn't too long after the opportunity one, before or after it. And they're watching the pond. They're waiting to see what's going to pop up. So undercurrents. There's something going on beneath the surface. May not be able to see it. But maybe if I get better and better with my observations, I can pinpoint it, and I'll at least notice that it's there for clarification. Something new is going to happen. There's a new birth card again. Motzi. Motzi's there. Remember, that's one that jumped out of the deck when I was shuffling it. So that's what's going on. There's some type of new birth in the next 6 months that's going to occur. It could be plans that I have to open my own online store. Maybe that's referring to that. Or it could be something else that's going to develop. It's beneath the surface right now, but it's a new birth. Something new is coming in. Something to sing about. So that's pretty cool. So once I get past the releasing and the sadness and the sorrow and get back to basics and get the foundation strong again, then the next step will be, something is bubbling up to the surface, and a new birth of some type is involved, whether it's a new spiritual awareness, whether it's a new project, or new life circumstances. Maybe I win the lottery. Do I win the lottery? There's the Heights card. Something big is going to happen. If you remember, the new birth and the Heights card both jumped out of the deck at the same time. They're kind of together. So something big is going to happen within 6 months. It can go sooner or it can go longer, depending on how I cycle through what comes before it. How long it takes me to process through the sadness of losing Tramp, releasing anger and pain and stuff like that, and getting back to basics. That might not take 3 months. That might only take a month. Or it could take 6 months, when you get in a rut and you can't just get past it. So these are just rough averages: 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. So the 6 month area is showing something pretty cool. Something big is going to happen. Undercurrents, new birth, and heights. So that's I'm looking forward to that. So in the 9 month cycle period, barriers. Okay. This is Gina. She was one of the wolves at Cleveland Metroparks. And she represents barriers. They do different things there, or at least they did. I haven't been there in a long time. During the time frame when I was taking pictures, they very much do a lot of things to enrich the environment for them by leaving little treats, burying treats here, there, the other, everywhere, putting something there that wasn't there before. Just boom, all of a sudden something's there. And they go, what's this? To help enrich them, enrich their everyday life. So this one time, there were several tree limbs they had spread out. And I stood there and I watched, while I was taking pictures, I watched them sniff around the tree lines and make different choices. Some would basically jump over, some would go all the way around, and some would carefully pick their way right through it. And that one, I have an obstacle card that really shows that. So the barriers card is, obstacle is basically choices, making a choice of which way to go, how you want to do it. It should never stop you completely. The barriers card, a lot of times, is self-imposed. Okay, so, I can't do it. I'm afraid. And something is right there, but you're not reaching for it. So a barriers card is more from the personal, not as objective. It's very subjective. So it's for me, in the 9 month period, I have to really be aware of self-imposed barriers. I have to get out of my own way. That's not always easy to do. But that seems to be what it's talking about. Let's see if we can get further clarification. Balance. Let's see, this is Wild Thing, and I believe it's Gina. Wild Thing and Gina. They're kind of back to back, but when I would look through the pictures afterwards, I had this whole stack of pictures of the wolves, and I just loved going through them. So I would look at the picture and I would get a feeling. And I would get a sense. And they started talking to me in that way. I wasn't going crazy, but they were talking to me. And that card said balance to me. I bet. Hi, Emily. And the Reels Gert. Welcome to the chat. I'm doing a wolf reading to basically for myself, but if I say something that connects with you, then it's a message for you as well. So the balance card with this barriers is telling me that I need to be I need to make sure that I'm focusing on balance. One of the big lessons that wolf is there's time to play, there's time to eat, there's time to rest. All three are just as important as the other. And we tend to forget that. We go 50 miles an hour and then collapse. That's not staying in balance. It can also mean balance between the spiritual and the physical. So, okay. They don't want me to get so involved spiritually that I'm out of whack physically, I think. But it's a caution for me to stay balanced and to get out of my own way, the self-imposed barriers. So that's 9 months. I'll have to watch this later and make notes. So we got 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and again, it depends on how I process through the cycle. It can take that much time, it can take more, it can take less. One thing I have learned working with wolf spirit, and maybe it's all nature spirits, they don't like to be pinned down. When doing readings for other people, well, when's that going to happen? Well, I want to know exactly when. And it's like, they're not going to tell you. For one thing, cycles, it's all subject, it's all how you process through things, but also they don't want to be pinned down because there's so many variables out there. And there are times where God says, yes, I'm going to give you this, but oh, wait a minute, not yet. Because they know what's coming this way and what it's going to do. So maybe you need to pay attention to this first before he gives you what he was going to give you. So that's why you need to do readings. Okay, so we're coming up to 9 months. So no, you cannot, whatever that means. Ooh, 9 months, some kind of truth is going to reveal itself. And that is Wyatt. He was the only male. There were 5 wolves, and he was the only male. This is the truth card, although it says Ruth, because when I trimmed it, I cut off the T. So in my 9 months, some kind of truth is going to reveal itself. I'm thinking that it's a fundamental truth. It's a basic truth. A clarification card is the inner strength card. That is Wyatt, and that is that Wild Thing? No, that's Reva. Or I knew her as Reva. And this was like, after I'd been following them for like about 3 years. And they get wider and wider and wider. The older they get, the wider they get. These were mostly gray wolves, timber wolves. I don't know how other wolves are, because these are the only ones that I really, paid a lot of attention to. So that's roughly the cycles that I'm processing through. And if anything that I said, if you felt a strong connection to, then it was a message for you. Spirit can do lots of things all at the same time. We're the only ones that inhibit. We're the ones that restrict what God says and does, and what Spirit says and does. Now, I'm turning over one more card. I don't always do this, but it's, like kind of a general overview or additional message. Compassion. I believe this is Wyatt, and it was in one of the later years where he's getting whiter and whiter. But it's compassion, because there was such a softness about this picture. I get a little irked at people who, use the wolf and it's all the vicious, the mean, well, yeah, they don't have a grocery store to go to, so yeah, they have to be a little vicious when it comes time to feed themselves and feed the pack. So they can be. But they're a natural wild creature. We can be very vicious too. But there are different sides to the wolf. They teach us all about family, all about teamwork. They teach us so many things that is much more important than just how vicious they can be. If you were starving to death and you had a family to take care of, you'd be pretty vicious too. So that's basically what this reading is referring to. I think that's a good start for this series, which will be a spiritual slant, or ASS for short. I thought of that. It was like, no, I can't use the initials. That would be wrong. But it's a way for me to refocus on the spirit side of things, and maybe share what I know and what I learn and what's available to me. So we will leave that there for now. I don't know how long this has been, but I feel good about the reading. I feel encouraged. I think things are going to be fine. There's something neat that's really neat that's going to happen if I process through the cycles, through the teachings well. Something really neat's going to happen in about 6 months. New song, new heights. Something new on the horizon. So it'll be interesting to see what it is, and maybe I'll remember to refer back to this and when that happens, so that we can get, this is what I was talking about. So we will leave that there for now, and eventually, hopefully, I will have the deck finished and use the finished deck, and have another camera and figure out how to set things up so that you can see the cards as I'm doing it. I don't have to hold it up. So until the next time we get together, I hope you have a good one. You take care, and of course, God bless. Bye-bye.